Hello, I'm Frost and welcome to another episode of Alliance Spotlight. My guest tonight is Valasius of Dockworkers. Now, Dockworkers don't use roles, but if you did have a role, it would be the equivalent of the military leader of the Alliance. Also, the other thing with Dockworkers is they're based in Lowsec, so this gives us an insight into another style of gameplay. So let's jump right in and get started. Hello, Valasius. Thank you for coming and welcome to Alliance Spotlight.
Hi, Ross. Thanks for having me.
Okay, super. Well, you got in touch and I was really interested to have you guys on because primarily, obviously, as of this point, I haven't actually covered a kind of a low-sec-based alliance. And also, you know, as I've been doing the war updates and talking about events that have been happening in Catch, you guys popped up quite a lot. So it made perfect sense to kind of bring you on to this episode. So what we're going to do is we're going to start at the very beginning. And I know that Dockworkers were formed in 2019, under 2019, so that's fairly recent. So do you want to give me a little bit of history of like where you've come from and how you started out?
Yep, sure. Originally, Did He Say Jump was an alliance run by Predator Elite. While I was not there for that, at some point it ended up being disbanded. And then, if I say Pred, I do mean Predator Elite. It's just kind of common what I say for short. Him and Pelkey wanted to kind of restart and bring the band back together. So, Did He Say Jump came back as a corp. And then, around a little bit before I joined, there was another group wanting to join with us, Sanctuary of Shadows. They were an ex-Snuffed corp, and this was at the time when Snuffed Out had disbanded, so these guys were looking for a new home in USTZ, and they ended up wanting to fly with us, but still wanted to have their corp be with them. So that kind of brought along the need to make an alliance.
Yeah, identity is important, isn't it? You know, especially if you have your own culture, you know, and that can normally, it's like a lot of cultures are alliance based, but it can also go right down to a corporation, and sometimes, you know, people don't want to roll into other people's way of doing things. So it kind of makes sense to then do an alliance in that situation when you've got some well-established corporations. Now I noticed as well you've got one other kind of fairly large corporation, that's Hullpen.
Yep.
So did those guys joined in later, I take it, yeah?
They did, and to give a bit of history on that too, I'm sure we'll get into this later, but Dock is also a very deployment-heavy alliance. When I say Dock, I mean Dockworkers. And back when Wang's, or Pen Is Out as an alliance, was in its greater glory than it is now, they've lost a lot of corporations lately, but we were deployed to a low-sec system called Kanaka, with a group run by Red Cardia called Know Nothings. And the idea is we were just going to group together and fight all the people over in Black Rise in USTZ. So we got a bit of a reputation with Hullpen, just kind of being there and seeing they saw how we fought, and they were intrigued by our playstyles. So when Wang's was collapsing, or Pen Is Out was collapsing, Hullpen, and as well as Q-Cats, another smaller corp within Wang's, reached out, and they were wanting to join us in Dockworkers.
Okay, yeah, I have to say that Pen Is Out is still my favorite name for an alliance ever. I mean, I remember doing an alliance tournament and trying to watch the commentators, like moderator and everything, try and say Pen Is Out and not kind of mess it up was definitely entertaining. So yeah, top marks for that. So obviously, you know, you guys all banded together. I see there's like about 500 characters in your alliance. So it's not a super huge alliance. I would assume the numbers are good enough that you kind of got regular players logging in and everybody kind of knows everybody else, right?
Exactly. Dockworkers, it feels like one big corp. There's no, corps don't have separate comms. It's just everybody's just on the same team speak, and everybody just hangs out together.
Okay, and also one of the things that I remember you saying, that so you said US time zone, so you guys are primarily USTZ, right?
We are, with one caveat. We have one group that does play in AUTZ. They're called Kiwis in Space, and they're on the smaller end though. They're generally, if they pre-pinged something, they might get 10 people.
Okay, yeah. But obviously, you know, they get the benefit of your infrastructure and everything else whilst they're doing stuff in their time zone.
And the time zone is kind of mixed between USTZ and AUTZ, so they do get to play with us still.
It's kind of the West Coast guys. If they stay up late, they kind of roll into the AU guys, right? Okay, so one of the things, obviously, we talked about Lowsec. So first of all, where are you based somewhere specific in Lowsec? And then, do you want to talk a little bit about what it's like playing the game as a Lowsec alliance?
Yep. So we're living in a system called Cormonen. It's about 6 jumps from Amar in jump freighter range, so it makes logistics via jump freighter incredibly easy and very lazy compared to the rest of the game.
Yeah, that's super.
And then it's also 2 jumps from Amamake, so we're kind of in the middle of all the small gang and solo PvP, and so a typical day is generally is leaning to more gate camping, roaming, black ops dropping people, trying not to get baited doing that. and then almost all the big fleet fightings are pretty much all structure based, or if you tackle someone's circle.
Okay, yeah. So obviously there's quite a bit of whaling because one of the things we talked about just before we went on air was now the recent industry changes have brought kind of more rorks and more kind of miners and stuff into Lowsec now, right?
Yep, and there's definitely I'm pretty sure part of fraternities, for example, is wanting to move to Veil of the Silent was to get closer to Lowsec, and as well as to Jita. I would think it's a mix of that too, to be able to actually mine Crocite for the upcoming Dread changes. So there's definitely in all time zones active Rorqual people mining in most regions that are heavily deep in the faction warfare kind of scene. So if you look at a map and then you look at the number of kills in a region, and if it doesn't look like a lot, there's likely Rorqual people mining there.
Fair enough. Okay, that makes sense. And obviously, one of the things that is going to come up in conversation is Snuffed Out. So as we are now in April of 2021, Snuffed Out have become very, very dominant in Lowsec. So you talked about being, baited and dropped on. That's where Snuff, are normally there with God knows how many dreads dropping on you. So obviously, you've obviously, I assume, had to make sort of friendly, sort of semi-official kind of coalitions to kind of deal with that, right?
You're pretty much spot on. I think for maybe 2 months now, Snuff has been deployed. Basically 1 or 2 gates away from Amamake at any given point. They've had to switch stagings a couple of times because they've actually lost maybe 3 or 4 Fortizars. I don't remember off the top of my head, but now they've just moved to the Amamake Keepstar. And before they weren't really attacking any of the dockworker structures. It was pretty much all Siege Green and Wrecking Crew structures. But we knew our turn would be coming soon. We have a feeling that they just want to attack anything that will provoke a fleet to undock, so that kind of forces anybody who wants to hold their structures to kind of group up. So
I mean, you have to accept is while they're big, they are content generators, right? You have to give them that.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, if something's not against the ELOA, then I mean, you got to do whatever's most fun for your people, and this is what's most fun for their people. Okay,
and so in terms of structures, how easy is it to actually maintain structures in Lowsec? Because obviously you don't have the benefits of nullsec, like things like cyanojammers and things like that. So do structures come and go fairly quickly, or is it something that you can generally hold on to? And does your staging move as a consequence of that? Do you move home a lot, or do you kind of generally find you can still live in the same area regularly?
Thankfully, with NPC stations, you can kind of always live in whatever system you want to choose in Lowsec. It's more on the rare side for a system not to have an NPC station. However, when it comes to citadels, it depends on the scale. If you're fighting in numbers that are not greater than 50 versus 50, the defender always has a chance to save their structure. But eventually, the more people you have in a conflict, if it gets up to 100 or 150 people on both sides, at that point, you're kind of fighting against time when it comes to the structure if you're the defender. And it gets to the point where no matter how well you do, even if you are 90% efficient on a battle report, you can still lose your structure because it comes down to time and HP on the structure.
It's getting that damage cap and maintaining that damage cap no matter what. And if they're at that damage cap and they keep losing ships, but the damage cap doesn't go down, then eventually, like you say, you run out of time.
we've seen that on both sides too. I mean, I've said earlier, Snuff has lost maybe 3 or 4 Fortizars by now, and then I'm not going to say we're immune to that. We're on the docket. We have a faction Fortizar that's coming out soon, and it's not gonna be any surprise. They'll hit that as many times as they want in, EU, TZ, or Europe time zone.
Yeah, I have been keeping an eye on things. I haven't been reporting on it, but I've kind of started to get some inroads into having contacts in Lowsec and stuff, and I'm kind of getting the gist of what's going on there, and it is interesting. And that's what you want in EVE, is to have constant, sort of things going on in one part of the world or another, one part of the universe or another. Talking of one part of the universe or another, as I've been doing my war reports for World War B2, before Brave moved from Catch into Quirius, you showed up on a lot of their kill melts, both in like PvP fleets and I believe some structure bashes as well. So that's not Lowsec, so how come you guys are there? You mentioned earlier something about deployment?
Yep, I've been here for maybe about the summer of 2019 is probably when I've joined, a little under 2 years, and I'm naturally kind of a person who wants to FC, who wants to drive content. So I've always kept us kind of in deployment. And in those 2 years I've been here, I've personally have done probably 6 of our deployments. And one of them, there's actually 2 parts to Curse that I want to speak up, because that's where we've always started from. The first one is back when Legacy still had all of their holdings. Like, nothing was lost at this point in time. Maybe close to about a year ago was when we first started. Maybe in July or August of last year is pretty much when we first started. And the idea is we brought 2 fleets with us, just a Kikimora fleet, the very popular 1MN Afterburner Shield fit. And then we've always had a lot of success, for the most part, with armor hack fleets with Afterburners. So we suitcased those ships into all of our dreads, moved down to Curse, and the idea is, let's just attack anything we can in Immensia and a little bit into Catch, as long as we stayed on the northeast side of the geography when it comes to Sino ranges. We felt pretty safe.
Yeah, so in Dread Bomb territory rather than down in Legacy territory.
Exactly. So that was the first half, and that was a lot of fun. I think we destroyed about 150 bill roughly in the 4 weeks we were there total. We had to pack it up at that point, because it seemed like we kind of all just wanted to go back to Lowsec. It wasn't really our playstyle to be there, so I'm glad we went, but it was time to stop. So eventually we went home, and then our friends in No Forks Given, another alliance that they're our only really permanent blue that we have.
Okay. All right. Okay. So you guys are like best buddies then, yeah?
We call them our sister alliance. Yeah, there won't be a world where we're ever not blue.
Perfect. Okay. And so what were you doing? Sorry, I interrupted.
Yeah, no problem. So eventually we moved back out of Curse. I think this is about time when the Alliance tournament was starting back up. So we kind of wanted to just take a break, focus on the Alliance tournament. I'm not sure even exactly.
But the Anger Games. Yeah. You mean the Anger Games.
Yep.
Yeah.
So we did that for a little bit, and then we got contacted by goons saying, hey, do you want to do some more harassment and catch? Maybe go after sovereignty. And that wasn't really kind of our playstyle. We're not really into the TCU and iHub attacking. I couldn't get our guys to do that if I tried, really. So, but
it does take a particular kind of person to do sub warfare.
So we thought our friends in No Forks might be a good fit for this, so they did, and they basically moved a bunch of Typhoons with the intention of just going after almost pretty much just the structures that start and jump bridges. And we were fortunate enough to be given a cache of faxes that were just left in Curse from the Imperium. I don't know the exact number. It was between 10 to 15 faxes, so they just gave it to us and just told us have fun. I think it was for free, so it was.
Yeah.
That turned into a lot of fun over fights over jump bridges, as well as over. I think we got on a Sotillo mail too, in catch over a pretty good fight.
Okay, yeah, because obviously, one of the rumors mills going around was that the Imperium were hiring mercs, but that wasn't the case, was it? It was more a case of by the way, do you guys want to go and harass over there? It would be really helpful for us. And if you're in the area, then please shoot stuff. I think it was just more of a kind of a diplomatic relationship, right?
It turned into a mix of both. When I say Curse 1.0, that was the first times when we were more focused on Vincia. That was my own initiative. No one came to me at all. I just said, hey guys, pack up your stuff, we're going. And after the head GP dread fight, we dropped some around 40-45 dreads with initiative on our backing us up too. After that, we ended up going home, and we were paid by goons actually near the end of that for our time in Curse. So it wasn't planned to be that way, but we actually ended up being paid.
Okay, all right, that's interesting. Okay, so obviously the next thing I've got as a question, moving away from that now, is actually. So I just had a mind blank there. My stopwatch stopped, and I try and keep track of time. Your players, is there like a typical kind of player? Do they have a particular kind of SP? Do they have a particular kind of S skill set that you kind of look for people in your alliance?
We pretty much require a dread alt, which it means if you have someone who is able to have a dread alt, odds are they have everything they need in order to be self-sufficient anyways. So we tend to attract those kind of players and generally steer clear of other kinds. Like newer players generally can't have that as a requirement, so it kind of just naturally tends out working out. So it's that kind of very self-sufficient player. Player's been playing at least a couple of years, probably done some time in Nullsec even, been in some of the bigger alliances, didn't like that, wants to be in a small group and kind of be able to just, sort their own life out, bring the stuff in with their jump freighter, fit out their ship and go out and do stuff, yeah? Yeah, that's I would say that's spot on. We don't really have any SOV or anything like that, or any places where people would just farm up to make ISK, because as I said earlier, with the amount of low-sec Rorqual hunters that are out there, it's very difficult to do that reliably, so people are just expected to find ways to make their own ISK on their own. That's not something we try and provide to people.
Yeah. Okay, and then what about aspirations? Where is Dockworkers got a plan of where it's going, or what it wants to achieve, or are you kind of just in a happy bubble and just want to maintain that?
So our perfect ideal kind of fight is between 50 to 100 people. That's the scale that we're really happy in, that we try to always aim for. With the war going on right now, most of the time to get those kind of fights, we'd have to go to Nullsec. And considering everybody is all bottled up pretty much in Delve, that leaves Fire Coalition and Fraternities, basically the only two major people in Nullsec not involved in the war for the most part. So they kind of limits our options in order to what we can actually kind of go out for deployment. So for now, we're kind of just forced to being at home. But ideally, the Goon War ends at some point, and we can go back to just harassing people in Nullsec.
Yeah, things are coming to a head now, shall we say. So, things may change in the foreseeable weeks. And obviously this video, is going to be up for a long time, so it's not a stream, it stays up on YouTube. So potentially people are going to be watching this a year down the road. But it gives it more of an idea of kind of what you guys are doing and where you're going. But obviously, if you said you were deployed in Curse, you're next door to Fire Coalition anyway at that point, aren't you? And even in Lowsec, I think you're still pretty close to Fire Coalition territory.
Yep, you're right. We're not far at all. The closest Lowsec region to us would be Imperium Reach, but Fire Coalition.
Okay,
not far.
Yeah, so that's Slice at the moment, I believe, are in Imperium Reach. Yeah, okay. All right, so is there anything you want to close off with? Because I think we're kind of pretty much there now. Hopefully we've covered everything. Have I missed anything? Is there anything in particular you just want to bring up as well?
No, I think you did a great job. I'm happy to support your channel. When I saw you do the first episode with Tomoxa Zero, I was like, I want to support this. This is a good idea. So it's really why I wanted to be here.
Okay, that's awesome. It's great for me as well, and I know for the viewers, because the problem with a lot of with alliances is all you literally have is you just have like a few lines of text on .lan or in your description of your alliance, in game, and you really don't get a feel for what the alliance is about and what it does, So what I'm trying to do is show that there's so many sides to EVE, and there's so many different types of players doing so many different types of things, and everyone, you know, is so enthusiastic as well. You know, that's the other thing I try and really put across. You know, it's like you guys have found your niche, you like what you do, and to be able to share that with others is a good thing.
And one other thing I do like to share too is I did start a series on YouTube recently called Midscale, where it's the analysis of fights that I've been taking over the years. I currently have 4 episodes out. If you search on Reddit, Midscale, all one word.
Okay.
That's the way to find it.
All right, okay, and I will also say it will be in the description below. So you give me the link later, and I will pop it in the description when this episode releases.
Sounds good.
All right, so thank you very much, Valasius, and yeah, good luck with everything.
Thanks, Frost.
All right, cheers, bye. And that brings our interview with Doc Workers to a close. So thank you to Valasius for coming on the show and for giving us what I thought was a great insight into Lowsec life. As always, if you enjoyed the content on this channel, please be sure to like, subscribe, hit the bell icon for notifications, and do please come into the comments as well. I always like to hear all about your thoughts on these videos, and also, you know, let me know what part of nullsec or lowsec or what part of New Eden I may have missed, and I should include, so I'm always interested in all kinds of news. You can also join my Discord, and obviously on my Discord you can give me news about stuff that's going on in wars, or just come on and just introduce yourself as an alliance, as I try to get to know as many different people and many different alliances as possible. Anyway, that's enough from me. Thank you for watching. Until the next one. Bye.